When we're in drought, our community's watering rules can help us conserve water, but high use by a small number of users can affect us all. I'm Sasha Codet, joined by Karen Guz, our Vice President of Conservation, to discuss a proposal related to a high use surcharge during stage three. So, Karen, currently in severe droughts like stage three, our rules state that customers would move to every other week watering. And instead, we're proposing to replace that with a surcharge on the highest users only. Tell us a little bit more.
So we've never actually imposed stage three in San Antonio, even though the Edwards Aquifer has fallen to stage four. And there are some good reasons for this. Essentially, what the current stage three says is that you could only use your hose end sprinkler or sprinkler system once every 14 days. Imagine it's 105 outside and you can only water with either of those tools once every 14 days. It's pretty harsh. And it's particularly difficult if you drag around a hose with the sprinkler. Now, 90% of our community is already following the rules and they're using pretty modest amounts of water. So we don't think it is fundamentally fair to be punitive against those folks who are already really doing a good job. What we'd rather do is a stage three in an unusually bad drought like the one we experienced this summer is send a message to the highest users. Now, you might be wondering, what do you mean by high user? How do I know if I'm one? Well, we're talking about the top 5% or so of use, which last summer to be in the top 5% was about 18,000 gallons for a homeowner, which translates to you're paying more than $200 a month for your bill, by the way. So what would that mean? It would mean that if you're a person already following the rules and using more normal amounts, even if you're using 12,000 gallons a month, wouldn't affect you at all. You wouldn't, no part of stage three would be of impact to you. If you are a household that has, maybe you have a big lot, maybe you have a big irrigation system, I don't know, but if you're in that top 5%, we want to help you. We have free irrigation consults. We want to work with you, see if we can convince you to get your use below that 18,000 gallon number. For perspective, if all the top 5% users just save 10%, it's billions of gallons a month that helps the community.
And Karen, how much would the surcharge be?
Well, that's a great question, and I'm sorry I don't have an answer yet. And the reason I don't have an answer is that we at SAWS cannot just declare an amount we want to charge for something. We are required to recover costs in everything we do. So we are going through with a specialist who specializes in water rates to add up all the millions of dollars of expenses that SAWS has during droughts. And some of those would get allocated to this surcharge. Now, ultimately, what we want is to not get this money. What we'd rather have is not have the expense of the very high water production. And we have to produce extra water, it's very expensive. So we'd either we would recover those monies from the people who use a lot, and or what we really hope is we'll discourage that use and everybody saves.
And Karen, where did these fees go?
Well, if we charge this surcharge amount to a small number of our customers, then those monies specifically help recover the costs of the high energy it costs to produce all that water, the extra chemical costs, the extra staff costs. You would be surprised at all of the extra expenses it takes when water production goes up by millions of gallons because of high irrigation use in some hot, dry summers.
Let's cover another questions that we frequently hear from our customers. So some people may have a pool that needs to be filled frequently in summer, and they're wondering if they would receive the surcharge.
So it's a great question. Typically, topping off a residential pool in the middle of summer depends on how you do it and how efficient you are. I can tell you I have a backyard pool, and takes us about 1,200 gallons a month in the hottest, driest summers with no rain to top that off. I consider that a lot, but I want to compare that to running an irrigation system one time for a typical residential customer is 2,000 gallons. And so just your pool shouldn't tip you over. And usually if you have a pool, you have a little less grass or other landscape. So you will have to watch your amount that you're using and maybe cut back in some other ways. But just having a pool won't drive you up to that amount. It's usually other things that are going to get you up to that 18,000 gallons.
And some customers may wonder what would happen if they had a large leak while we were in stage 3.
Yeah, and that can happen to any of us at any time. So the good thing to know is that SAWS has a leak adjustment policy already. And so if you experience an unusual leak, you can document what you did to fix it, and you can contact SAWS to go through a process of documenting it. So we can take that into account both for what you pay on your bill and for the possible surcharge. Even better, within the next couple of years, everyone will have an electronic meter that they can check their usage and know when they have a high flow quickly. So that will be exciting when everybody has that, because that will reduce the amount of water we all use from those unexpected leaks.
Yeah, that'll be a great benefit. Another question we often hear is folks are wondering if commercial accounts would also be subject to stage 3 surcharges.
Yes, but we have to do it a little differently. Most commercial properties have a dedicated meter that's only for their landscape. So it makes it possible to analyze how much water they're using and then come up with a logical amount to say, stay under this. So we'll probably need to put them in large and small categories because some are just so large that what's reasonable for them is different than, say, a little fast food property that has a tiny irrigation system. So we're working with, we're doing analysis basically to look at the size of our commercial properties and how much water they use to come up with what their surcharge level would be. But the same spirit, we're looking at saying, if you're a top user, we need you to cut back. And same thing, they'd pay their normal bill plus the surcharge if they don't.
And we appreciate everyone's input so far. If you have any other questions or would like additional information, you can go to wateringrules.com and complete our survey.
I
Karen.
do have one other thing I'm going to bring up before we exit this particular video, Sasha, and that's if you're a large residential property. I don't think we've talked about that yet, and that's a question I've heard. I've heard people say, well, I am blessed with having a half an acre, and I use a lot of water because I water all of it. Well, I'm happy for you that you got that large property. That's wonderful. But I will say, not everybody who has a really large property waters all of it. And so we would love to do our free consult with you to go over how you're using water and what would it take to retain the health of, say, your trees on your property. The good news is they don't need water every single week. And so we think we could work with you to say, where are you going to water the most? Maybe up close to your house, and let's work out a schedule of reasonable watering for the rest. And I bet you we can get you under that 18,000 amount.
Yes, definitely give us a call and schedule that consultation. Well, thank you. And everyone, please head over to wateringrules.com and check out that survey. Share your thoughts, share your ideas. We appreciate your time.